George Cope was born in Toronto in 1961.
Lived in Toronto until I was 14, and then a shock as a 14-year-old Toronto kid finds out you're moving to Port Perry, Ontario. 4,000 people. It was a big shock as a kid. It was ironically a small town that had a background in, of all sports, basketball.
George showed up for tryouts. It was an exciting day for us. He's quite tall, and so we were in need of a center. And
I was a 6'7", 15-year-old kid, so showed up at the right place.
He was a very effective leader even back then.
I learned people play their position and applied that to business my entire life.
And it's made the companies that he has led, quite successful.
Just 3 years after graduating from Western University, Cope was serving as president and CEO of ClearNet Communications, a small company in a new industry.
People said it wouldn't go anywhere, it wasn't going to be a big industry, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of it then. So we've seen the explosion of that industry. We saw the introduction of the internet. It's an incredible thing to be a part of.
In 2008, the now seasoned executive was handed the reins of Canada's oldest telecommunications company. But in the midst of a competitive market, Bell Canada had been struggling.
One of the things we tried to do in the last 10 years was restore that momentum and pride in the company. People said that was an impossible thing to do with an organization our size and with the history and what have you, and we did it. And that was a big cultural change for the company.
He actually takes great care in thinking about what are the things we should be doing as a company.
George is big, he's very friendly and open, and yet you get the sense that this is a guy who is on top of the world that he's living in.
George loves to win, but some people like to win and damn the consequences. And I think one of the great joys of working with him is that he wins the right way.
George continued to infuse his competitive spirit into the Bell empire by acquiring ownership shares in a number of Canadian sports teams.
A really good night for me is watching a hockey game that's at the Bell Centre with the Montreal Canadiens playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, watching it on TSN, and I get to tell my bride Tammy that I'm actually working, and she doesn't really believe it, but it sounds like a good story.
In 2010, Cope led the launch of the Bell Let's Talk initiative, the largest ever corporate commitment to Canadian mental health.
George's business successes are well documented, but what is not as measurable is the enormous impact both George and Tammy have had in their work in the field of mental health.
They have committed $100 million over a 10-year period to organizations like the Center for Addiction and Mental Health here, but also a lot of smaller initiatives. And it just has brought the public discussion of mental illness to a very strong new level.
There's a Jewish expression for a man like George, and that word is mensch. George is a mensch, a good, decent person. A person with integrity, a person with values, a person with empathy. George cares.
Certainly it's been a joy for me to work with him, that he has not gotten arrogant, he has not become bigger than the rest of us, he is part of the team. It's an enduring mindset that no person is bigger than the team.
Integrity in a company is critical to building an organization. Your word has to be your bond.
You don't cut corners, you don't cheat, you don't win at a teammate's expense. You do it with integrity, you do it with honesty, you do it with the right attributes coming to the fore. You win the right way.
Please welcome George Cope, 2018 inductee as companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.